Hello, my name is Justin. I'm a licensed realtor, and I am going to take a few moments to explain to you on how you can become a realtor. So a little background about myself is I've been in the nursing field for 13 years, and a year ago I made a transition into real estate, and I want to take you through those steps and what it takes to become a realtor. And we're going to go over 5 main questions that I've kind of heard or had when I very first started. First question is, what are the basic requirements and qualifications to become a realtor? To become a realtor, it's a pretty even field for anyone. As long as you are 18 years of age and you have a high school diploma, you can become a realtor. There's not really many other things other than you need to pass the classes that are required by the state to become a realtor, and you also have to pass the exams. There's a state and national boards that you have to take. And that's it. There's no college degree that you have to take. You don't have to do any internship, and you don't need any years of experience. It's just taking the courses and passing the exams, and then you can become a real estate agent. The other question that I get a lot is, how much does it cost to become a realtor? And this number can kind of vary a little bit based on how fast you take the courses and what kind of courses you take. I went with an all online course, and that course by itself was about $500 to $600. There are a couple other fees that you have to pay for as well. Those fees are your exam fee, your background fee, your license application, and then you also have to pay for any background checks as well. I think in total, I ended up paying about $1,250 for everything all in to get my real estate license. Also, a quick side note going on with the cost of things. After you get your license, you're not done paying for things. There's also continued education that you have to do every year, and there's some fees that you have to pay as a real estate agent. So after you get done with your courses, there are some things that you have to pay for, and we'll cover that in another video, but it ends up being a couple $100 every year that you have to pay to maintain your license throughout the year as well. So there's lots of information that you have to take in, and you do it kind of quick. I think the first thing that you need to do is first ask yourself, how do you learn best? And I say that because there's several different ways you can take your courses. So the first thing I would ask yourself is, how do I learn best? Do I learn best by seeing, doing, hearing, listening? Do I need to be in a live class? Do I need something that can be done on my own time? Once you kind of know what works best for you, then you can move on to the next step, which is finding the course that works for you. For example, for myself, I needed something that was self-paced and something that I could listen to again and again and again if needed, so that I could really understand something. So I chose to go with the course called Kaplan. So when I kind of am talking today, a lot of it's going to be focused on what the needs are for Kaplan. The way Kaplan is structured is there are 3 courses that you have to take. Your first course, after you're done with that one, allows you to take your state and national boards. Then you got your second course, which just kind of goes over some more legal information and kind of the nitty-gritty stuff of all the contracts that you fill out. And then there's the third course. And actually, I thought the third course was the most fun. That's the one that kind of explains the characteristics of home, how to take care of a home. There's a lot of little details in there that I feel like a lot of us can connect with because we already know that information just from growing up in a home. So you have to take the 3 courses. There's a required mandatory 90 hours of education that you have to do. And then after you're done with those, there are 16 quizzes throughout that time that you have to pass, and there are 3 final exams that you have to pass, also being the state and national boards that you have to pass. So quite a few tests and quizzes that you take over a short period of time. Now, going back to the state and national boards, I, mind you, had also taken the nursing boards, which are really difficult, but I also now have taken the real estate license exams. And for myself, I almost found like both of them were almost just as hard in a way. I'm not very good with vocab, and when you take your real estate boards, there is a lot of vocab in it. So if that's something that you struggle with, you're gonna need to do a little bit more prepping yourself to make sure that you're prepared for the exams. Like I said, there is a lot of vocab in it, so making sure that you're really settled or that you really know that information is gonna help you out the most with those exams. And then building off of the boards that you have to pass, I want to point out too that after you finish all your courses and after you finish the 90 required hours and you pass the state and national boards, you can't just immediately start selling properties. You have to get your license hung with a brokerage, and you have to find the right brokerage for you, which again is something we'll cover in a different video on how to find the right brokerage that fits your needs. Another question is, how long does it take someone to get their license? This varies significantly. If you read online on Kaplan's website, I think they tell you that you can finish the courses in like 2 or 3 weeks. I will tell you that for myself personally, it took me about 7 months to do. They also say that you need to have 90 hours of required education. And for myself, I probably did about 150 hours of sitting down and actually memorizing the material. And I think that it's important that you don't just have a mindset of, I'm gonna get this done in 90 hours, but rather I'm gonna do this over a period of time, because you wanna make sure that you really know that information and have a good understanding on it, because you can always reflect back to that stuff, and you just wanna make sure you can understand it well and pass those tests right away, so you don't have to keep taking them over and paying for those courses as well. So like I said, they tell you that you can finish it in a couple weeks, which you can if you're not busy. But like for myself, I was working as a nurse during the time, and nursing schedules they're not really conducive to being able to have a lot of consistent study time. So it took me a lot longer to be able to create a schedule where I could go and effectively study. So the big thing here is, it sounds daunting because you're gonna study for probably about 150 hours and you're going to probably spend 6 to 7 months doing it, but it can be done. The big thing that I like to help people understand is you really do need to be dedicated and kind of self-motivated to do it. There's not anyone pushing you through. It's not like a regular high school class or a college class where they have deadlines set for you that you have to follow. It's 100% up to you. So making sure that, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, you really have to know what is your best way of studying and learning. Do you need someone who's going to tell you you have to be done with this part at this time? Then you might need to look at taking an in-person class. If it's something where you are self-motivated and you can do it by yourself, then take it all online. And I found doing it online was really effective. You have to be motivated to do it. Another question I get is how to study for your real estate exams. So I come from a nursing background. I have my master's in nursing education. So I love helping people find ways that they learn best. So I'm gonna give you a few tips here that you can take with you to help you effectively study for your exams. The first thing is be very consistent in your studying. Try to make it a habit that you are studying every single day, or if not every single day, like 2 days on, 1 day off. Don't let it get to the point where you're taking a week off or 2 weeks off. Try to keep consistent. 2 reasons for that. One, you're gonna get it done a lot quicker, but then the other is if you are studying for a little bit and then you wait for 2 weeks, then you're gonna have a hard time coming back and remembering where you were at and what information that you just learned. The next thing is I would try to set aside about 90 minutes a day for studying, probably doing about an hour dedicated to brand new material. And then I would say another 30 minutes to kind of review all the information that you've learned in the past. The next thing, again, kind of goes back to the first point, is set a deadline for yourself. If you don't do that, I feel what can happen is you just keep pushing it back, and then you realize that it's been a month or 2 and you haven't done any studying, and then you are rushing to finish before your class runs out. So I recommend setting a deadline and try to set that deadline relatively soon so you can finish things quicker, and that helps to keep you motivated, to keep you kind of going as well. Other tricks that people might use is use kind of like someone who would be your study partner. Not that they're studying with you, but they can kind of hold you accountable to it. So it's kind of that like accountability partner, but really just setting that deadline is huge. And then the last point that I would give, I think is the biggest thing, is really immerse yourself in the material. So a lot of what you are learning in your courses is all focused on residential property. I would say about 90% of the information that you learn about in your courses are on residential. Now, most of us own a home, or we know somebody who has a home, or we live in a home, so we all have a good understanding of the home. So what I mean by immersing yourself is when they are talking about a part in the course, I would really try to connect it to yourself personally. Have you bought a house in the past? If you did, what did that process look like? And what are they teaching you right now? Did that kind of fit in? and just try to remember those things. Really try to fit what you are learning into your life. And I really think that that helps to kind of solidify things a little bit more. All right, so those are the 5 tips I would give you for studying to become a realtor. And then comes the fun part. After you're done with all of that, you get to be signed on as a real estate agent with a brokerage, but you have to pick the right brokerage. So we're gonna cover how to do that in another video, and we're also going to cover the struggles that come with being a realtor. I think a lot of people kind of glamorize it, but there's a lot of struggles that come with it. You're gonna be your own business owner. So we're gonna cover that step in another video as well. I want to thank you for joining us today, and please hit that follow, like, subscribe button down below and follow along with us during this journey. And please, if you have questions, ask in the comments.